Kara, your mic.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Yes, the open meeting law requirements have been met by posting and notification.
Wonderful. Can I get an adoption of the agenda?
Yes, I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Same sign. And the next item on the agenda is the adoption of the June 20th, 2023 minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Anyone not in favor? All right, motion carried. And then we'll get into reports.
Yeah.
And the first one is the digital media update.
So, yeah, it's been a little bit. Summer's been going on for, turn my light on now. So summer's almost kind of coming to an end, but we've got a lot done already. Nancy and I were at Ashley for the Arts this past week. We got about 4 to 5 videos there we did. It was really a fun time and really hot though, unfortunately, but really fun, and we got a lot of good footage of the events that were going on. So that was good. We've got Beef and Dairy Days coming up actually this weekend. It's a pretty big event with the bandstand opening. Or I shouldn't say opening, but reopening in a way, restoration. So that's going to be exciting for the city of Whitehall. The parade and everything. So excited for Beef and Dairy Days again this year. Budget season's coming up. Got to work with Paul on putting together a budget to show the audit committee. So it's been I feel a little bit more confident going into this budget season than last year, since last year I only had about 3 or 4 months to get ready for it. So I feel much better about this August. We're looking at possibly getting a vehicle for our department as well, just kind of exploring it. I talked to the sheriff's department a little bit about using one of their former vehicles. They said that normally they just post them to like the Wisconsin Surplus website. They don't really sell to other departments, unfortunately, so that's kind of frustrating. But I understand that's how they do their business. They sell it on their websites. So just kind of looking at possibly getting a vehicle for us, maybe budgeting for it. So a lot of other stations do have, station vehicles. So it would be nice, especially on the long trips, and mileage just keeps going up and up and up. We're a little bit over budget on the mileage this year. So it'd be kind of nice to get a dedicated vehicle, especially something that's a little bit bigger than my car.
Is there any, I just have a quick question. I know the sheriff's out of line, but is there any other departments that are getting rid of vehicles you could use? It might be cheaper to buy from them than going out, thinking of the taxpayers. Yes, I think you should have a vehicle, but we got to be accountable to the taxpayers. We could go within Trempealeau County and have a pre-made vehicle for probably a lot less.
Yeah, and I know land management has quite a few. I think they have 7. So I don't know if they're going to be getting rid of anytime soon. Those are more like pickup trucks typically. I was more kind of looking for what the VA or the Veterans Affairs is looking for in like a kind of a used van, sort of, would be nicer than a pickup truck.
Sure.
I guess we could maybe make it work, but it'd be nicer to have a kind of a small SUV or small minivan.
I think I could see with the minivan too, but with the truck, you could always, even if you buy the thing within Trempealeau County, put a cover on it, it's still, it would be
true.
cheaper yet than a used vehicle yet. You still have your own vehicle yet. I can see both ends as the cost savings.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
true.
we have to go over what's practical over need.
And their vehicles are a little bit newer, so I doubt that they're going to be getting rid of them anytime soon. I know they have like a 2021 pickup.
I would also offer a challenge that there's got to be a way to, or I would think I guess what I would offer is I'd like to explore a way for vehicles to be signed up for use. That's what many organizations do. They have a fleet and you sign up for their use, because otherwise we have vehicles that aren't being used in a parking lot on any given day, but we're considering buying other vehicles, which just isn't good use of taxpayer dollars. Like, I don't want to take away from the fact that you need one and there would be benefit for you, but when I think about it from the big organizational standpoint, I think not from just this department, but across all of the county, there has to be a way to mutually work on using and sharing vehicles.
Vehicle share thing.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And, we even thought about it with, some of the departments upstairs, but they use theirs quite a bit, some of the departments, so it really wouldn't be feasible. They're putting like $30,000 worth of miles, they said, on their vehicles per year. So I was like, well, that probably wouldn't leave us a whole lot of opportunity to use it if you're spending that much money. That means you're probably putting a lot of miles on. So it'd be kind of hard to share with that one department. But I guess it, maybe talk to some of the departments that aren't using their vehicles, I guess, maybe. I don't know if there are a lot that aren't using their vehicles.
Well, I think they use their vehicles. I just would say that probably not all 7 vehicles in ELU are being used all at the same time, right?
Highly doubt it. Yeah.
So maybe what we need to do is to consider this as as something that gets brought up and investigated through the full county board. Just how can we turn vehicles, rather than them being departmental vehicles, into fleet vehicles for the county that are operationalized across the board. It's something that I've heard come up a number of different times for different committees and departments that I think is worth exploring before we put money toward another vehicle.
I
Yeah.
think this would be a great option for our new project for our administrator.
Correct.
We could put that on that,
He's left.
certainly put that on that
His
docket
or her.
and try to figure that piece out.
Yeah, they, I know ELU also mentioned, I talked to Mike, that they had purchased in the past 2 new vehicles every 2 years. So they were getting, quite a few vehicles coming in and out. So that's not a practice that Mike is going to do anymore. But he kind of wants to keep the, 2021's not too old, assuming it's in good condition. So I don't think he's probably going to be cycling out that quickly anymore. But if that would have been the case, I guess it would have been real easy to get one of those vehicles if they've been cycling out every 2 years. But and just trying to get some, like, the cost too would be nice from some of the departments.
So is everybody in agreement that would be a good project for
Yeah.
the new administrator?
I agree. And I think why
Or does
Mike,
it need to be done?
Well, I don't know if we could at least start gathering the information, and I would kind of hate to just sit on it because we don't know how long it'll take to recruit an administrator either. And I don't think there's any reason we couldn't get a tally of what vehicles everyone has and start working through that process, because as much as I know you need a vehicle, I can almost, well, I can't guarantee it, but I can say that I doubt that that's going to be able to be approved through the budget, given all of the other competing expenses. So let's get creative in figuring out a way to get you a vehicle that will meet your needs without having to buy one.
Who could take on that project? Who would be a good person to?
I don't know if we need to bring it to property committee and ask them to start or considering whether or not that's something that would be in their scope to think about.
Andy, are you comfortable bringing that to property for us? Oh, is it on? Is it on now?
Yep.
Andy, are you comfortable bringing that to property for us?
I can, absolutely.
Perfect.
I think it's just the concept of fleet vehicles rather than departmental vehicles, and how many does each department have, and how can we figure out a way to share them across the organization?
Yeah, I don't know how many are being used. I tell you, it seems like if we can't figure out a schedule where if somebody needs a vehicle, we can't use one, then we have some other problems.
Right, of course. But I think that's a great idea, because obviously you do need it. Probably some of the good news is you probably use a lot of, or need vehicles on the weekends too, so that should hopefully open up that for you there.
Yeah, we work a lot of the events that we cover are on weekends, weeknights, hopefully when they're not using them. I know land management uses a lot of theirs during the summer. I think almost every, I knew when I talked to some of the staff that each staff member had their own vehicle, so that was kind of nice for them, obviously. But I know that they don't always work together, so sometimes they need their own vehicles. So totally understand that. But
So in conclusion, we'll have Andy, he'll go ahead and talk with property and see if we can figure out some kind of a fleet management program for us. Does that sound good?
I'll do it.
Excuse me, I'm going to interrupt here. I am on property, the person that was late. And we are having a special meeting on the 28th, so if you're in a hurry to get some information on that, otherwise we'll meet the first week in September.
I don't think there's urgency in this,
Okay.
but if it fits to
So we'll do it,
discuss-
yeah, okay.
Be great.
I'll need a little more information because I don't know what went on here, so I'll visit with Andy on that.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Anything else?
Yep. So I just want to point out that Nancy Bergman's been a huge help to me lately, and as well as all of our volunteers as we've been dealing with some staff turnover. We recently did a Justice Center tour video. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but we did a kind of a tour of the new Justice Center on the second floor, and I think it went pretty well. I've gotten some pretty good feedback from everyone, so excited to show some transparency with the public. So it's been fun trying to get a nice video put together for everyone to kind of see what's going on inside the building, not just outside the building, because everyone can see from the street, but not a lot of people are allowed inside the building. So plan to hopefully do another one in September when more of it's put together and kind of tell what room is what, because it's pretty bare bones still. But so yeah, it's that's been a fun project we've been working at. In July we were at the fair. I did quite a few videos at the fair, so that was a really good time. Did the demolition derby. That was a pretty popular video on YouTube. Nancy did, I think, 2 or 3 walkthrough videos of the fair for people. People really enjoyed that on TV. I've heard some good compliments on that. So yeah, just lots of summer projects. I think we have Blair Cheese Fest coming up. Ettrick Fun Day is coming up in September. So there's a little bit more to go, but most of the summer's over, but we still have about 3 big events to go until we're really finished. So that's pretty much all I have for you.
Wonderful. Let's go to does anyone have any questions? I guess we should ask that first. Otherwise, let's move on to the museum update.
Nancy is here today? Yep. Great.
Go ahead, Nancy.
Turned it off on you.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. I apologize because I intended to be here like 3 meetings ago, but let's see. 2 different times there was a snowstorm and I couldn't get out of my driveway. And then I guess it was in June or July, I was on a vacation in Europe, so I just couldn't get here. But
No worries. We're thrilled to have you here.
okay, well, I don't have a whole lot to report. You know, we have the website, and it's usually during the winter when I'm able to go through it and add more pictures and documents. During the summer, I want to be outside, not sitting at the computer, so a lot of that gets put off for the worst weather. The Historical Society also we maintain the one-room schoolhouse at the fairgrounds, and that's always visited very well during the fair, and then we're going to have it open again for Apple Affair. And the last 2 years that we've done that, it's been wonderful. We have had just herds of people going through there, and they really seem to enjoy it, not just the kids, but the older people. And the funny thing about the kids is they love those little slates that we have on the desk, that you wipe off the chalk with. These are the kids that are used to having, tablets and things, but they love those little slates. And of course, been working on programs with the television station here. We've had a lot of fun doing that, and we've had a lot of positive feedback. And because it's on YouTube and it's available, we've got people in other countries even that watch things. I've got cousins in New Zealand that watch us, so we're worldwide.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
Do you have any questions for me?
Wonderful. Well, we accept your report. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you
like
so
I
much
say,
for
I'm
your
sorry
help.
I couldn't make it those other times.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Where I live, the snowplow doesn't always have high priority because there's no milk trucks or school buses going by there. So
totally understand.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
No
So-
problem at all. Thank you for volunteering and all your help.
And I'm going to switch back there with
All right.
Kevin again.
I agree with Kevin and the Madam Chair here that you've really stepped up in these times, you and also the volunteers to fill in the gap here
Thank
at
you
the
very
TV
much. We
studio.
appreciate it.
Well, I'm very technologically inept. I never claim to be a good computer person, but Kevin is he's really good and he helps me a lot.
Well,
And he's
half of the
very
battle is getting the
patient.
pictures and the other stuff. So that's
All right,
great.
thank you.
Educator reports.
Who wants to start? Shall we start with Adam? Yeah, he says it. I see his name. There he is.
Hello. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, hello everybody. Happy late summer. Just kind of running through my report. We completed a monthly summer series for our Juntos program, which is for kind of local Latinx or Spanish-speaking families. A lot of it's around building community and connecting them to other communities and resources within the county. So we had a couple of like 4-H project days where they learned more about agriculture, they learned more about art, and it culminated with a trip to the Trempealeau County Fair where they were able to kind of meet with and talk with different folks. And this was a collaborative effort between a lot of the Extension Office, similar to our summer science camp, which is always very popular, always fills up immediately at the beginning of summer with a significant wait list. And it's a whole group effort between myself and the whole Extension Office. So just kind of a good example of how we can all come together with kind of a shared purpose and goal and have a real impact on the community. And it's always very well received. Parents love it. The youth love it. There's some opportunities within the county for people from all over the county to gather and kind of have that shared sense of place and belonging. And this is one of them. So it's not just for Whitehall. It's not just for Independence. It's everybody in the county, youth from Ettrick and Oliva, being able to kind of have fun together and learn together. So that was just kind of a fun program. Similarly, I have been working with the Blair Taylor Summer School program, the Whitehall and Independence Summer Library programs to do direct education for youth through those. And a lot of those, it is direct education, but it's also community building. So it's bringing people together, having that shared sense of place, which is really nice. And then additionally, we have kind of a lending library of materials that are, they're not consumable or anything like that. So we lend those out throughout the year, but notably the Eau Claire Extension Office, we were able to supply them with all of the things that they needed to run a summer program as well. So it's nice to see Trempealeau County kind of providing those services to Eau Claire County. So those are the primary things that I did in my role as a youth educator. If anybody has any thoughts or questions before I move on to kind of family education.
I think you're good.
I would like to add, hi, my name is Monica Kimorowski. I would like to add a little bit of what are you comment about Juntos. Today, I actually gonna meet with with a Latino female who's gonna come and start a 4-H club. Oh. So our first 4-H club is gonna start getting rolling today. Yeah, they were thinking about open a club, a dance club. Oh, more regional folkloric club. So she's gonna meeting with me today. So I'm excited because this is the first time we are doing it.
That's really exciting. Very good.
Where is this looking to open?
Well, originally they're from Arcadia. Mm-hmm. So we just Andrea is gonna help me a little bit to see, all the paperwork that we need to get done, all the training and all stuff like that. So I'm excited, and they're thinking to start running in Arcadia. and we will see where we can find a place so they can start like getting together and practicing.
So let me understand. So is a 4-H club
Yeah.
and also a dance club?
Yep.
So two separate things that they're
Well,
looking at doing, or is the dance going to be part of 4-H?
Yeah, it's part of 4-H.
Okay,
yes,
very cool.
Yes, and this is fun because they're all these ladies volunteering for this, and she's so excited to do it for the community.
Very
so
nice.
they already have like 6, 7 children's enrolled with them. Well, they don't have actually a enrollment, but they're starting a
interested.
club. Yes.
Very cool. Nice work.
And it's not all that atypical for a given 4-H club to sort of have a specialty. I mean, that's pretty common. What else do you have to share with us, Adam?
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect highlight of where Extension fits within the county. So a parent comes forward and says, I want to teach kids this skill that I think is good for them and would engage, community members and have them learn something about their culture. And so they're able to use university resources to do that, to build a community, to have people come together around those things. So that's excellent. Within my family education, it looks like my son wants to join me here. Want to sit down? All right. Isaac. So I've been teaching reentry skills, stress management, parenting classes, both in the jail and as part of the treatment and alternatives diversion program through the justice system. And then some focus on fathers evening programs. So my parent institute, we do a lot of collaborative programming. So I work with other folks around the state to provide kind of monthly, weekly parenting, co-parenting, fatherhood education programs. And those are typically in the evening. And then lending out parenting and literacy kits through local libraries and other organizations. I just got reached out to by the Head Start this morning, asking me to do some Dad and Me programs, which I typically do a few of each semester with them, which is very well received. And it's like there's not a lot of opportunities for fathers to gather and have a conversation about parenting and parenthood and sharing their struggles as well as their successes and their strengths, and having multiple generations in the same room talking. So grandparents, experienced fathers, new fathers, expecting fathers, and like seeing those conversations, which may never happen naturally, having them sit down and have a focused conversation about that is very rewarding. And I think necessary, and there's not a lot of other places that would do that. And then as far as like my general capacity building and kind of systems work, I work with a lot of different coalitions and organizations within the county dealing with youth, the justice system, parenting, mental health, lots of different things. One of the big things we're doing is reentry services. So if I could kind of drill down on that, we worked with a person who was getting out of jail. I was able to coordinate with a local church to get them some shoes that they needed, some clothes that they needed. We had backpacks from another program and hygiene kits. We were able to work with a library to get him a gas card for his driver. And then we were able to kind of work with him getting to the Dollar General to get a phone. So somebody who's coming out and would otherwise not be landing well on their feet to be participate in their community is kind of set up and pointed in the right direction. So that was kind of a positive thing. I've been training drivers locally who might be able to provide transportation to folks and kind of connection to a community, which is really nice. And then with the justice system writ large, we're doing a justice system mapping project over the last year, which will culminate in October, and will bring together both justice system members and kind of mental health service providers to have a good conversation about how we can integrate good mental health supports and services throughout the system.
Very nice.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, kinda. Wasn't it Adam that was gonna be like looking to be more at the state level?
Yes, and he has started that. But a lot of it is the Juntos work. That's where he's taken on some more state responsibilities.
Okay, I didn't see that. It's not on the agenda to talk about, is it?
No, I forgot.
That's okay. I was just looking for an update because I thought we were looking to potentially budget for a replacement next year for a .4.
No, actually, we get that money from the state, so I don't have to budget for it other than my normal budgeting. We just have to work together to find somebody to provide backup.
Thank you.
So, and you know, our first idea fell through, so we're still working on some other ideas.
Okay, thank you.
So, but it won't require any additional budgeting. I will be asking for more money, but not for this.
Okay, so then we can move on to 6, business items with discussion.
Actually, no, we have lots of educator
Oh,
updates.
sorry. Move on to the next educator.
Who wants to go into Andrea?
Yeah, you guys almost got right out of it.
Yeah, darn it.
So my educator report isn't going to be as long and extensive as it might normally be, mainly because I just try to survive July every year because it's fair time of the year, and I'm just trying to make sure that I get through the fair and then to my next fair. So I was at the Trempealeau County Fair this year. I always use this time to really connect with more of my volunteers that I normally don't get to see because oddly enough, it's the one time of the year when we are all in the same space. So I do a lot of walking around, and I purposely go up to people and say, hey, how's it going? How are your kids doing? Because that's a lot of times where I get a lot of my programming ideas that I try to implement then throughout the year. Because I didn't do this at the fair last year, but I did get an idea from a parent after I called her, and then I did my livestock clinic earlier this year. So that's a lot of times where I pull these things from. Plus, then I can say, hey, I know you're doing really well. I would love to see you in this role. Would you be interested? Mm-hmm. So I connected with a lot of families. I connected with a lot of kids, and I was very confident about the way the fair went this year. And then, of course, science camp was next. Oh, well, I guess I can touch on the Juntos part because it was Monica and I call myself a fair tour guide at this point because when we look at it, between Monica and I am the fair expert. So we took, how many people did we have, Monica? Was it 15 or 16?
It was more than 15.
Okay.
It was more than 15.
So we had 15 families. So it was parents and youth who came that Monica helped. We walked them around the fair and we told them about, like, here's what you could do, here's all the awesome things, and I connected them with volunteers because one was like, hey, I would love to learn about riding horses. My son's really interested in this. Who can I talk to? And I'm like, Nikki Dunn, come here. She can help you. And then they're like, well, we'd be interested in doing stuff with rabbits. And I'm like, here's someone who knows it. Or I'd grab kids who I'm like, I know that you can do a very good job telling these kids what this project entails. So I tried to make sure that I picked people as we walked around who I knew would do a good job, because the main part about 4-H that we don't think about is having kids teach kids. Right. So yes, I can ask for an adult sometimes, but I would rather ask a youth who knows what they're talking about to explain it to another youth, because for the most part, they're going to be speaking the same language. So that was really successful. I think we did a great job, and I'm looking forward to, of course, making
Let me add a little bit of that. And one of the amazing things that when we bring another community minority to these events is that they're here, but they're not aware of what we have around. And when they start seeing what we have and what they can actually enjoy with another students or another families, they get interested to do better things. And this is what we want to do with 4-H, with Juntos, that they know what we have around, so they can be more successful with their kids, with their child. And families are taking these events more like they keep asking now every year, when we're gonna go and do it.
That's exciting. And we've only done this twice. So, I mean, that's a pretty good thing. So that was awesome. I would call it a success. You know, depending on how you rate successes, that was a success. The next thing that I did was I taught all 3 days at science camp. So Adam didn't really say, but there was about 60 kids at science camp, and the last day was incredibly hot. And I decided that I was going to use hot glue guns with children, and no one got burnt besides me, and there was no workers' compensation that needed to be called. I just said, ouch, that hurt. But I've learned now next time, just don't use the hot glue guns. Yes, it's easier, but just find double-sided tape. What I taught, because I love pulling in little bits of science that's like food related, because we don't think about it when we're cooking. But I didn't do that as much this year. I did actually soap science, because oddly enough, I grew up, my mom makes goat milk soap. So I have lots of random bits and pieces of knowledge about making soap. So I taught the kids how to make soap. And then we also did, DNA, we called it DNA fruit salad. So we extracted banana DNA, which was super fun. And the kids really got into it. And they also, I went very broad, and I was like, here's what DNA is. Now we're going to find DNA here. So I think it worked well for, considering they were kindergarten up to 5th grade. I think it worked well. Everyone took something home, because then the next day I'm like, what did you guys learn from yesterday? And then they tell me at least one thing. I always want them to just do one thing that they take home. And then the last thing we did was BuzzBots. So they were little toothbrush robots. So you cut off the toothbrush bristle head, and then you put on a little motor and a battery, and they just kind of move around. There was a very funny, Pat's laughing, because there was a very funny email of me asking Paul for stuff, and I didn't realize that some of the things were odd that I was asking for, because I was like, I need X number of vibrating motors. I need batteries. I need mixing bowls, because I can't spell, so I did not spell bowls. And then Pat and Paul were like, what on earth is she asking for? And I'm like, this is a very normal email. Gosh, guys, what's going on? No, not normal. I missed it. But it's okay. We had a good laugh, and there was no harm. But yeah, so we were successful with teaching kids about electricity, and they learned something. They also would pull their robot apart, and I said, I'm going to start charging you guys for me fixing your robots, because at this point I'm like, I've fixed yours 3 times, $1 million, please. And they're like, I don't have that. Well, of course you don't. But yeah, so it was great. I really love teaching at science camp. It's fantastic. Even when it's super hot, it's still fantastic. The kids, like Adam said, they're normally not together in this way, and sometimes not. I mean, and not to take down schools, but sometimes they aren't able to teach science in the way that we're teaching science. So it's good.
Where was this science camp held?
Petrix Park.
It was, okay, I thought so.
Yeah, they're a pretty good partner, and they allow us to just kind of take over the park for 3 days.
Perfect.
Coming from the PTAC committee, we're more than glad to share our space.
Good, because we will constantly use it. And then the last thing I did up until now was the Jackson County Fair, which, like I said, same thing for Trempealeau County. I spend a lot of time coordinating with volunteers and connecting and making sure that people see me, because I have been here for 3 years, but there are some people who still don't know who I am. Sure. So, and that's mainly because I mainly email communicate, or if I do know who you are, I'm one person out of the whole county, and I can pick out people a little. Oh, sorry, Pat's like 2 counties. Yes, I do work in 2 counties. So it gets to be a little, who is this person? I have no idea. I do my best to connect with people and make sure that they see my face and know who I am, but you don't always connect with people in a way that they need to be connected with. So that is really what I've been working on up until now. What I'm now focusing on is I'm going to be doing a leadership workshop coming up here in October, because I want to get some of our adult leaders, but also our youth leaders, kind of ready for the new year. And they always ask me for officer training opportunities. So I'm going to actually be partnering with Emily Crook in La Crosse County. She's my counterpart down there, and so we're going to bring our groups together and do some training, because I love giving them a little bit of parliamentary procedure. But I also worked on a bylaws document for the state, and I want to start teaching people how to use it so that we can get better bylaws, because there are moments where I have a club go, Andrea, help me look at my bylaws, and I go, oh my God, what is this document? Mm-hmm. It's scary. So I want people to start really looking at their bylaws, because those are our governing words. We need to know what they say, but we also need to know how to use them. So I'm going to hopefully clean up some bylaws, one club at a time.
Yes. I'm part of another kind of a governing committee or body that I'm part of, and we're going through the process of fixing our bylaws. So been down that road. It's fun, and you're going to have sometimes people don't agree with it. People don't like change. They're going to fight you. I hope you don't have it with 4-H, but with my governing body, we have people fighting the change. Hopefully you don't have that.
Well, sometimes our only issue is where were the bylaws, and I have had a club leader who's like, Andrea, do you have a copy? And I'm like, well, I have it from this year. Do you need it sooner? She's like, yeah, because when my husband and I got divorced, I saw that they burned it. So I don't know where that current copy is. And I'm like, we're going to try and that was a real conversation. That wasn't just me exaggerating. She's like, I'm pretty sure it got burned. It was in this box. And I saw that on a fire pile. And I'm like, cool. So we're going to figure out a way to get that digitized. So I have a lot of work cut out for me. So that's something, and the other thing I'll be focusing on, I know you guys probably were sick of me talking about it, but charter season's coming up. Yay! Not my favorite season, but it's a lot of work. It's essentially, I help the clubs do taxes, and then we audit, and we make sure that they're spending their money properly and in ways that they should be spending it when they're raising money for the Clover. So that's coming up, and that will probably that will take me through to the new year, because it takes forever to connect people and get them to get the proper documents in, but sign the proper pieces, and it's a lot of work. So that'll be what I'm going to be focusing on until probably the new year. So any questions?
Sounds like really good work, though.
I try. Thank you.
Okay, I haven't been at a committee meeting for a while. I've been busy this summer. So in June, I worked with two high school ag teachers, and we taught tractor safety. And so it was Brad Markart from the Black River Falls High School and Steve Bowe from Melrose Mindoro. We had 28 students. We had them, the one that drove the furthest came from Cochrane Fountain City. So 28 students for tractor and equipment safety is a big crowd. We were busy. So what they get is they get a certificate. So it's actually covered under, it meets OSHA standards and Department of Workforce Development. And so we have to meet 24 hours of instruction for these youth. And so it was a busy 3 days, but it's rewarding because, you know, they are our future, and even if they don't stay in agriculture and stuff, as they're driving down the roads in their car, hopefully some of what we've told them sticks. So I enjoy doing that, and that was a good program. Also, because of the drought, Extension is drafting articles to help farmers make decisions about which way to go in this dry weather. We've had rain recently, but we're still dry because the soil started out so dry. So I took part of my quarterly newsletter, which I had, that entire quarterly newsletter was dealing with drought. So I took part of that and made it into an article for the Topic Hub or website, Crops and Soils. Also, that was published in the Ag Review paper. And that article was reviewed by Damon Smith. He's the state extension specialist for crop pathology, which is fungal diseases of crops. And then I also reviewed and edited an article about soil texture and water holding capacity of soils for another educator on the other side of the state. So that's some of the state level stuff I did. So my article was about fungal diseases in crops and whether it's profitable to apply a fungicide during drought, which it generally is not, because we don't have the environment conducive to fungal growth. Now we do, now that it started raining and we've got these foggy mornings and heavy dews. So also along the lines of drought, August 22nd, which is a week from today, I'm hosting a meeting in Blair to primarily for beef cattle, cow-calf herds, but how to go through the drought and manage pastures and other perennial forages will be my main gist to hopefully we get normal rainfall next spring and summer, and we can have healthy pastures and healthy hay fields to get into that time frame. Bill Halfman is the state beef specialist. He'll be there to talk about managing the cow-calf herd and early weaning or some other strategies to not have so many hungry mouths to feed. So that's That starts at 6 o'clock at the Blair Community Center. So then July 19th, there was a field day in Buffalo County that dealt with the use of poultry manure as fertilizer. So one thing that's happening is livestock producers are getting more efficient at feeding their livestock, and there's more research that shows, well, we don't need to feed maybe protein at this high of a level or minerals at this high of a level. So there's sorry, it's allergy season. There's less being excreted out through the birds or the cattle or hogs or whatever. So the manure values are changing. So farmers are seeing their old application rate isn't quite producing the crops that it used to. So Carl set up a test plot over there looking at different rates of fertilizer in addition to poultry manure from broiler barns. Also,
just 1 second.
Yes.
I do work part-time at a broiler farm, and it's too bad I missed, but it'd be good to hear what the difference between cow and the poultry is with my background. So it fits good.
Yeah. And also they're managing the broiler barns differently now with Pilgrim's Pride than they used to. They used to do...
I worked for a turkey farm, which is Genio.
Yeah.
So we have, on the turkey side, Genio is primarily in this area, and so is Pilgrim's. Have you done anything reached out to Genio side?
No, we haven't.
That might be something to look into. Maybe I'm a little biased because I work for Genio, but it's something to look into for their side too.
Yep.
And give you some contacts you need.
Okay. So they used to clean out the entire coop. Now they just go through and take out the wet or the cake stuff and add a little more bedding. So it's a different manure product, but that test plot will go to yield here this fall, and they'll hand harvest and weigh the corn coming out of there. So that was good. We had, 19 attendees or something like that. It was good, well attended. Also, I taught one day at summer science camp, and it wasn't the hottest day, but it was still hot, but it rained in the morning, which was great. So I taught about ants. So we don't really think much about ants, but they really do a lot for us in the environment, and they're also part of the soil forming process, which is why I had to talk about ants, because whenever you can incorporate soils into something, that's good.
Excited.
Yes. Also, I spent 2 days last week at the Manure Expo at Arlington Agricultural Experiment Station. And so manure is exciting for a crop guy. So and it's the North American Manure Expo. So it travels around North America. It's in Canada. Next year I think it's in Ohio. And so we had people from North Carolina that were there. There was people from all over Canada and this upper Midwest area. So it was a very informative new technology in handling and managing manure. Also, working on a protocol. So in the cover crop aspect, they're interseeding cover crops into standing corn, into growing corn. So that is a way to try to get cattle and stuff and keep living roots in the soil for a longer period of time, provide some biomass between the corn rows, because now even that the corn is canopied, you don't think of erosion happening in a cornfield, but it will still happen between the rows. So if we have some plants living in there between the rows with roots, that'll help hold the soil. So these interseeded covers are going into the corn. Once a corn starts dying back in the fall, these cool season crops start growing. So we want to know how many tons per acre are we producing out here in these fields, and how much gain can we put on cattle with that if the cattle are turned into these cornfields after they're combined. So Friday I'm meeting with a couple other extension people that have done some of this work, and I will come up with a protocol, and I will then go into these fields here in the Buffalo Trempealeau Farmer Network and come up with some tonnage and that type of thing, and try to get some numbers to it. Because right now, people don't really, they're doing it, they think they're seeing a benefit, but we don't have any data. We don't have any numbers to put to that. So that's what's exciting me right now. So.
All right, perfect. Who's next?
Could I actually jump in for just a second? I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but I'm looking at the agenda. Unfortunately, I need to leave at a particular time, and I don't know if we would be able to jump ahead and then come back to the other educator reports.
Yes, we can. Sure.
Because I kind of made a request earlier too. I think I join you. If we could. Yeah.
So I think what they're asking is to go into closed sessions.
Uh,
Or what would you like to jump to?
How much time do we have left? You need to leave at 10?
I need to leave by like 9:45.
Okay.
Okay. we
Let's,
get
yeah, let's do A and B. Those shouldn't take that long.
Okay.
And
All right, so project initiation for 4-H program assistants and 4-H program educator.
I have 2 proposals in front of you. And the first one is actually, it's the second one in the process, is a new option that came about because of the state strategic plan. They are moving forward with a plan that sets minimum 4-H program educator positions, and their plan is that depending on the youth population as set by the Department of Public Instruction's estimates, and the size of the 4-H program, a county is either eligible for a half-time position or a full-time position. And Trempealeau County is eligible for a full-time position. So what we are proposing is to increase our current half-time 4-H program educator position to a full-time position starting on the first of the year. The budget that's included in here reflects the additional costs that are incurred, but I also put down the additional state costs that the state will be covering. This really doesn't impact any other departments and the departments we regularly work with anyway. So land management, the other educators in the office, and schools, libraries. So our goal is to increase it from a half-time to a full-time position. Historically, this has been a full-time position. But because of extensions reorganization, budget cuts at the state and local level, we reduced that position to half-time. It became a shared position. The state we have discovered that it really does reduce the ability of the educator to manage the program most effectively. And we also want to increase the programming that is currently offered. So our goals are increased programming, recruit, train and retain volunteers, build the capacity of local clubs, Juntos, that's building that new club and building the relationships, building better relationships with club leaders, and increased time in the Trempealeau office. One of the things that sort of, and we know it, but it just is a fact, if they're going between county offices, that just takes up more time. They call it windshield time, and it's great if you have lots of Zooms to listen to, but it takes time away from the people. In terms of work and evaluation process, the educator writes an annual plan of work based on county needs and state goals, and that directs her work. I evaluate her performance through a performance management program that looks at job expectations and goals, and we do it twice a year. I just finished her mid-year summary, and then I do an end-of-the-year summary, and then I just meet with her regularly to see what progress is being made and what additional resources might be made. So that's how we do that. We probably evaluate our staff more than most other departments in the county.
Which is good.
I was actually wondering, so do you have to follow UW's evaluation process rather than this? Okay.
Correct.
I think it's a good thing that you have regular evaluations with your staff. I wish some departments in the county would follow that. You could be a good example.
Yeah. It's what we do. I put down a timeline and some goals. Lots of these goals are ongoing, but I put down some initial dates just to kind of give you a sense of what we would be working on. That's actually for the 4-H program assistant. And then I put in the funding. So what we are asking from the county levy, at least the first year, the 2024, is an additional $23,124. And gosh, you wonder how I know that so exactly. I do. That's because the state sets a fee for each, well, they set a fee for educators. So since we're just asking for a half-time increase, it's a half of what the full-time fee is. So, and then I just increased it 2% each year. And then with the state funds, because this would be a co-funded position, the county doesn't have to pay all the extra costs of going to full-time.
Good news.
So, and that's a big thing. I mean, you know, if you want to increase your percentage time, we can do that, but usually the county has to pay the full cost. Because this is part of their strategic plan, the university is picking up that extra co-funding cost. So that's that state fund, which leads to a total amount needed, but I am only asking for the first number.
I like that I do
Yeah.
like that. I think having that is shared with the state, you have a better chances of it surviving through the county side. It's the taxpayers. I mean, they're still paying, but not as directly. So the least amount we can have on our local taxpayers, you've done a good job at the cost sharing.
Yes, that's what this program largely, all of them are largely about. We don't go through a bid process for our employees. The vendor is the UW. And all it involves is a modification to the annual 136 contract that we sign. That's all. And we're only asking you to pay that county share. Just sort of in terms of argument, it's our major youth development program in the county. It's been in existence since the early 1920s in this county. It has evolved substantially. Back in the day, a long time ago, they were corn clubs. And now you're talking about a premier leadership and citizenship skills program and hands-on education on topics as diverse as shooting sports, computers, robotics, art, livestock, and so many more. And it's unique because it is expected that the parents are active participants in their local clubs. And it's, you know, people have been asking, oh, didn't it take a real hit? Well, all youth organizations took a hit over the pandemic when faced with COVID, but it is coming back, and it did have an increase. And our total enrollment, looking at the dashboard, was 229 members. That's 175 regular 4-H members, 45 Clover Buds, and 9 fully trained volunteers. And that's 7 community clubs and 2 countywide projects. And we really hope that moving it back to a full-time position will allow the educator to manage the program most effectively and increase programming. So that is our first proposal.
So would we move the position from, how would you fill this halftime position?
Hello.
So that means Jackson County then is...
Jackson County would then, as of the first of the year, if we approved all of this, would have to go through the hiring process. And lo and behold, because this is part of the strategic plan, then Jackson County, if they were willing to come up with the extra money, could hire a full-time 4-H educator. So
like
when we had this discussion with them, they were like, oh, okay. They were ready. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa. But yes.
They seem to be maybe ahead of us in some ways on.
well, no, just because their meeting was last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
so it's
no.
Their meeting's 1 week before ours, okay.
Generally, yeah.
They're our counterpart in Jackson County is what you're saying. Their meeting was last week.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
No, I felt like this could be a win-win for both counties.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because yes, I've maintained the program, but we would have growth if we had full-time person in each county. And everyone loves growth at this point, especially in youth organizations.
Motions or motions together?
So
I think separate motions, just because they are two different proposals.
So do we have a motion to?
Move to a full-time 4-H program educator.
I will make a motion to carry on with that motion.
I will second the motion to move to full-time.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Okay.
opposed? Okay.
The second proposal is actually the one we talked about last month, which was a half-time 4-H project assistant. And I am keeping this in as a proposal. If I don't ask for it, I'll never know if I could have gotten it. And it will help. And if I had to set a priority, and we all discussed it as a staff, we know what our priority is. But I'm going to present this as well. We are proposing a half-time 4-H project assistant. This is also part of the state strategic plan to ensure that counties have sufficient staff to support the 4-H program in each county. And sort of something to know is the decision we make here has the potential to impact the Jackson County 4-H support staff position. They have already approved moving forward with their position. They have to do that regardless of what Trempealeau County's decision is. We have an empty position, they need to fill it. So the plan, gotta listen, gotta understand this. It feels confusing to me. If Trempealeau County agrees to this, we would hire a full-time position. Half of the cost would be covered by Jackson County and half covered by Trempealeau County. Now, the expectations of the position in Jackson County are broader because they are also, in general, the support staff, office administrative assistant. So they'd have to do more things there. But here, it would really be focused on working on editing, graphic development, and distributing the 4-H newsletter, monitoring volunteer requests for information. Some they would be able to answer, some they'd probably have to forward. They'd be trained in 4-H online. I'm talking faster, Dawn. And assisting volunteers in accessing and using 4-H online for registration and other record keeping. And they'd play a critical role in working with the 4-H educator on the annual charters and plans. And that takes up a significant amount of time. The way we are proposing to do this is actually hiring this through the university. So they would be a university employee. And as a state employee, they'd be hired by me. And I would follow the same evaluation process that I currently use to evaluate my academic staff, you know, my Jacob and Steve and Andrea. The other benefit we think would be really significant is that because we'd have this extra staff time to support the 4-H program, the office administrator, Tammy, would have an increased amount of time to support the other educators in the office, including, you know, Adam and Steve and FoodWise, and Melissa and Jacob. Tammy is great at her job, but 4-H has a lot of demands. So if we can take some of that burden off, then Tammy has more time to help with the other educators. So I put down some goals and a timeline.
Couple of questions.
And this costs more.
So, a couple of questions with regard to that. So, number one, if the position is hired by UW, then benefits are not part of our cost.
Benefits are part of your cost.
They would just bill us for their.
The whole, they would take the cost, we'd put it down on the contract, and they would bill us twice a year. Okay. And so that number that I show on that last page, the 34,362, assumes one, that we're paying $18 an hour, and two, that they are taking advantage of the benefits. It might be that they choose not to take insurance. Yeah, right, they're going to take insurance, but it might be single, it might be family. So this assumes the most expensive. And the cost, if we split the position, the cost for Trempealeau County in that first year would be $34,362.
That is our split.
That's your split.
This is our split.
Did I understand you to say, though, that Jackson County, because the person at Jackson County's administrative duties include, I think you said, a bigger, it supports more areas or something, would they not then have that person for more than half-time and potentially, if their work is...
How is that split up?
Right, how does that
Well,
split?
we would split it up in a way that seemed to make sense. Their primary office actually would be over in Jackson County because we need them there to answer the phone and greet people. So
I guess what I'm wondering is if this could be more like a 75-25 split
Yeah.
to start with. That might be a little bit
Primarily
more
in
palatable
Jackson.
for a place to start.
I suppose theoretically, but right now they are looking at a halftime position.
Because I could see where that might be unfair. I mean, they're serving both counties, but like Ms. Waldera says, they're primarily there. Why can't they pick up a little bit more of the cost? And I know it's 50-50. That seems unfair, especially with the tight budgets. And you know how the economy is going. It's
Yeah.
the whole.
Yeah.
I can say a lot of what we do, though, can be done online. So, like, when we're talking about, like, the newsletter and supporting in that way, that is done online. So I could be doing that from Jackson County, but doing it for Trempealeau County. It's just where you're physically sitting that makes the difference.
We just got to think if this has to go before the big board or executive finance, they're going to ask the questions and maybe even more.
Yep.
So you think if we're hesitant, wait till it goes to either executive finance or the big board, how do you say it, very tame compared to what they're going to.
There are a couple of things to point out. First of all, Tammy has been doing a lot of work for Jackson County. So, yeah.
So being able to get something
something
out of that
back.
would be nice.
And the other thing is they have to hire a position no matter what you choose to do. And if I had to decide where to put my energy, where I would put my priority, it would be in getting Andrea to full-time. Mm-hmm. I just presented this because it was what I had talked about last time. And if you look at me and go, we're not going to try to do this too, Pat. We want to focus on getting Andrea full-time. I'd be like, oh,
I think that's
good job.
Yeah,
I think-
I think that's a great way to do it.
I think
we
you have a
start
good
by getting her
idea.
for-
We could start with her. We could always explore this at a different time. I think, not saying we can't ever do this, but maybe put this on hold.
Yeah.
I think we got to prioritize with our budgets.
And that's where I am on this. Andy?
And I'm looking at the idea of we're putting Andrea at full time. That's another half time that we just added. So
Right.
why would we want to look at? I can't even see this even close getting passed on the board.
Because we have a hard time, I think the Andrea one has a chance, but we have a hard enough time trying to get her to go to full-time. That's going to be a struggle enough, and then add that. You have a hard time getting the first one. So good luck. It sounds like I'm being a realist.
So
Oh, no, and then that made sense. So if we just go with that first one I talked about, I'm totally cool with that.
And I'm definitely voting no.
We don't even have to act
Yeah,
on it. You
okay,
could say we chose
okay.
not to act on it.
Yeah.
Not happening,
I-
sorry.
I appreciate that this is, that you needed to make the effort to do it. I think that we're going to need to probably pause and go one step at a time. But I will say when this needs to be considered again, which hopefully it will, because maybe our volumes will increase to the point that we'll be like, yes, absolutely, we need to go that route.
Down the road.
Then I think that through your project, even though it's not really specified in here, I think you need to add in here the potential financial benefits by continuing
You
to
gotta
increase
sell it
the
to us. Yep, the big
program.
board.
Okay. All righty. That's that, so we know where you, do I have to have somebody sign that?
You need him.
I just need to put the date the committee reviewed. Yep. Got it.
Okay. Anything else on that
Nope.
particular item? How about county credit card for extension, $500 limit?
I will let Miss Tammy tell us about that.
Evidently, last year we had renewed a program for Andrea on Paul's county credit card, and it automatically paid it and renewed this year. We didn't know that, Paul didn't know that, and it kind of blew up. And this department used to have a credit card. What it is, it was for her Canva, which she designs her newsletter. So Paul wasn't happy with that, and so he has said that he would do a $500 with us, so we could automatically do that. Also, it'd be beneficial when we purchase things for science camp. We do try to do a lot of it local, but sometimes we have to go outside. And then that means that we have to try to get the tax exempt form. And also, if we don't have that, they don't pay us the tax if we have to happen to pay for it. So it'd just be easier if we could do that with a $500 limit. I asked them that a couple of years ago to do it. I got the Dollar General one. I got half of what I wanted. But he has agreed, since we had this kind of blow up not long ago, and it was $120. It was a long, tough week, but he's agreed that it would be helpful to us. So I just thought I would talk to you guys about it, since I think last meeting, Kevin,
Yes.
the TV guy.
I was going to say, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, and we used to have one, and
So
I think
this
they
is,
took a lot of them away, but.
So you think you're not the only department that's, again, that's come to us with a similar request?
Oh, I know I'm not. I know I'm not, but I just think it would be beneficial to us. And again, with purchasing for like science camp, if I would have to go to Eau Claire, it's just gonna be so much easier than me having to pay for it, and then they have to reimburse me. It's a lot less questions.
I don't think Paul had any evil intent, but he was trying to be responsible to the taxpayers, so, in the board, so I can see where he might have.
Well, I think the money is being spent one way or another.
Right,
It's just
exactly.
the ease of,
And it's just
the
ease.
ease of
And I'm
I can
not
see
so
where,
sure
I don't,
we
I
should
think I can see
require
where his
people to
concern
spend
might
it
have
out
come
of their
from
own
too.
money.
to-
Oh, there was no evil, I mean,
No,
I don't
we
think
get
that-
along well. It was just that we had to figure it out, and I knew right away when I saw it.
I'm going to make a motion to approve, and then we can discuss.
Yep.
Oh, thank you, yes.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
All right. Any discussion?
I'm good with it.
Okay, let's just vote on that.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. All right. So then I think our next order of duty here is to have the closed session. Is that correct?
That is correct, and, well, no, because we have a time
I'm
thing.
so sorry, I've got to get it out of Dodge. Yeah,
Okay.
like really
Need a
quick
first
here.
and a
Yep.
second on that.
Yes, and then you need
I'll
to.
make a motion to go to closed session.
All right. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second it, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Read
opposed?
it.
What's up?
Then someone has to read that.
Where is the?
We'll do that when we put it
We're out
in.
of here.
All right.
Looks like you're ready for us, and we're ready for you.
Perfect. There you go.
Has to.
Yep. Just go right ahead.
Well, so I've been pretty busy through June and July. I did take some vacation in there just to even it out. But I like to present my my work as 3 tiers. So I start with a statewide. So I continue in my Ask the Garden question forum. So I provide diagnostic and outreach services via the online calls and in person. I also attended the Madison Horticulture staff meeting. So we gather all the horticulture people, we talk about what we're seeing, we come up with a plan of work, what we're going to concentrate on in the year, and then we write it out and then we move forward with that. So that was submitted in July. So I'm concentrating on non-traditional audiences and youth. People haven't been coming to horticulture programs in general, so I find captured audiences and collaborating with a few of my other colleagues, Andrea, Steve, Adam, to do captured audiences has worked best. So for Jackson, I work with Health and Wellbeing, Carla Gehring, and we do, I did a 2-week lesson and I taught at Mel Min Summer School. And then I also conducted multiple site visits where I, teach people different things. I help basically, bolster the effectiveness of our education and support within the local community. So for Trempealeau County, I participated in a Juntos Family Day event. So we emphasize horticulture and educational aspects. So I've been working with Strum and Whitehall libraries. I did a Strum presentation on tomato cultivation and sharing valuable insights. And then I did a pollinator focus lesson with the Whitehall Library. And then I facilitated science camp. I didn't teach any lessons this year, but I led 3 groups the entire time. So I was there the entire time leading the youngest group of children. So I facilitated that. And then, so for upcoming events, we had the Plant Family Salsa event. So it was, again, with the Whitehall Library, and we look at plant families and engaging participants in connecting plants and food while fostering a sense of community involvement. And then basically this underscores my effort to really reach out to communities, schools, libraries, and other organizations that really fit with my plan of work. And then if you see the pictures below, the first 2 are from the Juntos event where we did seed bombs, so teaching them about different seed bombs. And then the other pictures are from science camp. And then the last one is the Arcadia Garden, the community garden. So in addition, we're still working on the community garden. I still go down there and make sure everything is okay and nothing's messed up. So we're still facilitating the running of the community garden. So
Wonderful.
That is my report. Any questions?
No.
Melissa, are you awake?
Oh, barely. My report was emailed to you, but I didn't see it in this packet as a hard copy. I had sent it to Tammy early because I was gone at a conference. So here's a hard copy of the report. So just a couple highlights. One of the things I did a couple weeks ago was put together a program for municipal clerks, especially new clerks. There was a lot of turnover when it comes to municipal clerks in the last year, especially with the April election. And, for some clerks in very small municipalities, it's more like a public service than it is a career. And people are just willing to be a town clerk, for example, to help out their community. But it is so much to know. And so what I did is I put together a program on what to expect throughout the year, when reports are due, different deadlines that they have, just to kind of give them a heads up. And then I had a panel of some representatives from the Department of Revenue, the Department of Administration, to talk about the different deadlines that clerks need to meet. It was very well received. I had 178 registrants, but then I had one municipality or county actually had most of their clerks come in and sit in a room and watch the session. And then one of the people attending was the Wisconsin Secretary of State, which was very nerve-wracking, especially considering that Quick Trip is being demolished across the street and my whole office is vibrating while I'm trying to give a webinar to 200 people and the Secretary of State of Wisconsin. Because there's not enough construction going on in this town. So it was very well received. I got many emails afterwards thanking me for putting on this program, just because people either wanted a refresher or were new and were just feeling kind of lost. I have been working on election worker training already. I do a lot of training
in December usually because election workers need to have their hours in. So I'm working with the Clark County clerk on kind of revamping some of the training that I do, but I'm already scheduled to teach election training in Jackson County, for example. And actually I've gotten several requests now for my materials. Another county clerk emailed me just the other day and asked if she could use my training materials. So that's what they're made for, so I'm happy that they're getting out there. I did also publish an article in the Journal of Election Administration about a survey I did for election workers here locally. It was really important for me to have rural voices be amplified when it comes to what they see as election workers. They have hands-on experience, and no one bothered to ask them what their perceptions of elections or security was. So I surveyed some election workers and trainings that I did about 2 years ago, and I wrote an article and it was published in a journal. And now that I've made it safely back from China, I can tell you that I was appointed to a cybersecurity work group. The Wisconsin Towns Association asked me to be a representative to this group that they put together, along with there's a lot of people from the Wisconsin Department of Administration on this committee, just looking at different cybersecurity concerns that local governments face, especially like as on the town level, where we have, we don't have an IT support person, for example, and how to keep our tech safe at the local level. My other program is community development. I've been working on some scholarly work on pharmacy closures, especially how they impact rural areas. And it's one of those pieces is set to be published in an applied economics magazine any day now. And then that similar work is also getting submitted. I'm revising some comments that came back on a submission for a journal. I'm also on the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council Board. That's why I wasn't here at the June meeting, as I was attending their strategic planning down in Madison that day. And I'm really excited about the things that are coming out of that group, especially how it's going to benefit small downtowns in Wisconsin. It's one of the best sessions I've ever been to. I go to strategic planning things a lot, and I felt like this one actually had some goals behind it. So I'm excited to be a part of that. I'm also on the Western Dairyland Child Care Partnership Board. They just had a meeting last week. And then I have been doing some broadband work with the Public Service Commission on a team that Extension has. A lot of my programming this summer has been focused on natural resources. I have an ongoing water testing program here in Trempealeau County. Been working to repackage that a little bit and promote it. I also received a grant from our dean to provide water testing free of charge for farmers in Buffalo, Pepin, Trempealeau, Jackson, Clark, and Marathon counties. And I've been working with health departments in those counties, land management departments in those counties to put together a water testing program that will benefit farmers. And then the last week I attended the International Silage Conference in Beijing, China, and I presented on agricultural plastics recycling that I've done here and in Clark County. And then on the Clark County side of things, I've also submitted some grants for some water testing and some recycling events. I did help organize our lovely staff meeting at the Trempealeau County Fair. A piece of work that I did several years ago now was helping fairs develop strategic plans and do some other economic impact studies and set goals for fairs. And so it's nice to be able to see the fair and connect with colleagues at that time, connect with other people in the community. Got some great pictures, love the fair. Also created a needs assessment for our area through the Qualtrics survey. And then I did also help at science camp. I did not teach because I teach economics, and children at science camp are apparently not interested in economics. So I was just a chaperone, and I was a chaperone on the hottest day, which should count for something. But I'm glad I was there because the kiddos were kind of having a meltdown. There were a lot of meltdowns that day, and I'm kind of glad I was there for some of them. Yeah, it was the heat, and it was the last day, and just kind of happy to be there for some of those kids.
Meltdown with the melting heat.
Yes, it's, yep, so.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
Oh, thank you.
Monica just got back from Mexico, so I think she and Melissa are having the adjusting back challenge. April will be starting back from her reduced appointment on August 28th. She had a failed search for food-wise educator. So depending on how things are going with Monica and her situation, we may reconsider how we post that position and apply it. But there will be 3 people serving the food-wise program in Area 9. And there will be, she'll continue her work with the schools, but there will be more work with some of the other, the food banks and senior housing, just because the eligibility for the schools is changing because they need to have at least 50% free and reduced lunch eligibility, and some of the communities are changing, the numbers are changing. So, but she's moving forward and settling into the 4-county program, and we'll look forward to getting a new educator to work with us. So,
All right. Anything else under educator reports?
I did teach at science camp.
Any other questions? All right, then I think we're to the setting the next meeting date if we've completed everything else.
Before I know this is not technically to do with our committee, but I want to give a congratulations out to our own Pat on her election to president of GET School Board. Careful what you wish for, right?
I'm like, is that a congratulations?
Or not, right? It's like one of those careful what you wish for sometimes.
Right. So, the next meeting date.
Okay, this is the 3rd Tuesday. Yes, the 3rd Tuesday would be 17th of October.
What date?
The 17th of October.
We do it every two months. Works for me.
Works for me as well.
8:30 again?
Yep.
Works for me. Thank you.
Okay. And our thanks to Lori for leading us while Andy is enjoying tropical Florida.
Yeah, we're jealous.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not jealous. It's
I am.
tropical Florida.
Right.
It's tough.
I'd rather
here.
be
It's
there,
rough.
I don't know.
It's rough.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd feel jealous in January.
Can I get a motion to adjourn? Please.
I'll make the motion.
Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.